Okay. And there we are. We are live, and I don't even have my video on. I'm playing catch up. Hey, everybody, welcome to Hump Hangouts. This is the 20th of January, 2021. We're getting started about 30 seconds early because we want to get to your questions even faster today. But while Bradley's taking care of some technical stuff, going to go around, say hello to the guys. We've got some quick announcements for you all, and then we will be jumping into it. So let's see. Chris, you're first on the circle here today. How you doing?
Yeah, I made it. Yeah, man, super glad to be here. Yeah, exciting week. 2021 is getting better with every week so far, so like can't wait.
All right, good
and
stuff.
One more thing.
What's up?
Snow is almost gone. Spring is here, which is ridiculous because it's what, like the third week of January?
Yeah.
Never happens. I don't know what's up.
Well, speaking of warmer weather, Marco, how you doing today?
Spring's always here. I had to camouflage from the light. No, man, it's always good. It's hump day. It's Groundhog Day. It is what it is. Don't hate the player, hate the game. That's what it is. You can come do we do. We give you free training. We give you everything. That, as a matter of fact, I don't know, we'll get to it in a little bit. Charity webinars are starting Monday, giving away the farm. We're going to tell you why SEO is working the way it does. We're going to tell you the why, right? Nobody does it. Nobody ever tells you why. So we're going to do it. And we're calling in people who know why. I mean, got a legend in the game, Dixon Jones. He started with Majestic. And now he's in Inlinks. I mean, legend, true legend in the SEO game. He's coming to join us. Talk about entities. We got Bradley. Talk about ads and entities. We got just people coming in. Jordan Fowler. You guys remember that presentation? Although he's not going to give that presentation, he is going to tell people why. I mean, that's what this is all about. We're going to give back to the community who donates to the charity. That's what we do. That's how I do the I do.
Outstanding. Outstanding. And I see next in line is Hernan. You got a nice t-shirt on, man. You mind telling us about that?
Do you like it, man? You like it? Yeah, you just need to join the mastermind and you can get one too. That's pretty cool. So
that's good. You read my mind, you know, because my next question was going to be, Hernan, how can somebody get their hands on one of these?
If they want, if Adam or Marco or Chris or Bradley, if you guys want of these t-shirts, you should join the Semantic Mastering Mastermind. So I'm pretty good, man. I'm excited to be here. You know, here's warm weather too. So, you know, life's good. So excited to be here.
Outstanding. And last but not least, Bradley, how you doing today?
Overwhelmed with work, but good nonetheless.
Fair enough. Yeah, you generally have a couple irons in the fire, and I think you got more than usual right now, don't you?
Yeah, but what do they say? The journey of 1,000 steps starts, or 1,000 miles starts with a single step, and it's just one foot in front of the other after that, man. So every time I take like a high level overview or of the project that I'm working on, I'm like, oh my God. But then it's just focus in on something and just do it a little bit at a time, man. That's all you can do, you know?
There you go. Yeah, it's interesting. Won't get too far into this, but I've been kind of redoing my quarterly planning. You know, just it's an ever-evolving system. We don't plan the same way for all of our life, but focusing more on enjoying the process, right? Because if you get the process right, it doesn't matter what the goal is. As long as you're moving in the right direction and you keep going, the rest of it takes care of itself.
There's a great book by James Clear called Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Such a good book.
Yeah, it is a great book. And it talks about the same thing. It's, you know, just focus on the process and not the goal. If you the goal will happen, if that's, you know what I'm saying. And so that's one of the things. And the other thing is just do. You know, the only way to get better at anything is to just do more of it. And I think a lot of the times, and especially in what we do, digital marketing and all that kind of stuff, we always think we have to have everything just right before we can launch something, for example, or before we can start offering a new service to our clients or whatever the case may be. But in all reality, it's not something that you can really perfect without just doing it. And sometimes you got to get out there and make a mess out of things and learn from that to be able to get better at it. And he talks about that in his book, specifically about a photography class. He used an example of, like, he took half the students and had them focus in on what they thought would be, like their whole grade would be calculated based upon one image that they submit at the end of the photography class. And so they had all the weeks or whatever of that class to study and learn about photography and all that, but their whole grade was based upon one photo that they submit at the end. So they had all the time to perfect like what they thought was the perfect photo. The other half of the class, they were told to just take photos, as many as they can over the course of however long the class was. And at the end, they got to select which they thought was their best photo and submit that. And it was like overwhelming, like 95% of the second group, which just took a bunch of photos, outperformed the first group. And it was because it was just the activity of taking more photos that made them better at it, if that makes sense. And so a lot of the times whenever I think about like, oh man, I got all these things I want to do, but I got to get good at them first and all that, I think about that analogy and realize the best thing to do is just get out there and start, you know?
Most certainly, most certainly. Well, like we said, we're going to come back, Marco. We'll talk to you in just a second. I wanted to run through a few things real quick before we remind people about the charity webinar and how they can do that and why they might want to be there. But if you're new to Semantic Mastery, MGYB, Heavy Hitters Club, welcome. You're in the right place. You could show up here every single Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern, ask your questions. You can also ask ahead of time. We realize, you know, hey, sometimes maybe you're out running the errands, got to pick up the kids or something else is going on. You can ask your questions, check out the replays on YouTube channel, subscribe over there, and you'll get notified when the new ones are up. But we do also get questions about, you know, where should we start? What should I do? And generally, we got two things we want you to do is, first of all, you should find out how to shield your sites, your client sites, and not have to worry about algorithm updates. And you can get that through the SEO Shield training, which is free over at theseoshield.com, right? The word the SEOshield.com. All right. And then if you want step-by-step processes for getting SEO results and kind of following the footsteps of, hey, here's what we actually do, then grab the battle plan. All right. You can find out more about that at battleplan.semanticmastery.com. And then moving on up the food chain, if you will, we also get talked to by agency owners who are starting out or consultants, and they want to get more clients, right? We want to grow our revenue and we want to scale our teams so we can work less and earn more. And if you are interested in that, go check out 2xyouragency.com. That is 2xyouragency.com. And then last but not least, if you're ready to grow your business, your agency, then you're going to want an experienced community and direct access to us as well as your peer group. And you can get that and more in the mastermind. And that is at mastermind.semanticmastery.com. And now at the beginning of this, I mentioned MGYB. If you haven't used that, that is where you can get done for you services like the done for you SEO Shield, syndication networks, link building, press releases, so much more. That's mgyb.co. Now, before we dive into questions, like I said, Marco, I want to circle back to you. If you can remind people, because I know some people, they may have missed the last couple of Hump Day Hangouts. Can you tell them a little bit more again about what the charity webinars are and why they might want to be there, and then how they can get access to it?
Well, every year for the past 4 years, we've been doing this. And really what we're doing and how this started out was we called it a we refuse to keep you in the dark production. I'm just seeing how just people in our business get the hood pulled over their eyes, man. You get hoodwinked, hornswoggled, whatever you want to call it, man. People are just not going to tell you the truth. Why? Because they need to keep you in that recurring mode. You need to pay for more. You need to get more information, more knowledge. So you get into that mindset. Then they know you're going to go into that shiny object syndrome. And you're just going to keep purchasing, and you're going to get affiliate offers put in front of you. Now you need this, now you need that. And so what I decided to do is, since I've been helping the charity for well over a decade, what I decided to do is I decided to just come out and tell people, this is what's working and this is why it's working. And I decided to do it in exchange for a donation to the charity. The charity is El Niño y la Bola, a boy with a ball, in Costa Rica. And we help the poorest of the poor, people who have nothing. And when I say nothing, it's not figurative, nothing. It's not the US meaning of nothing, like I said before, people are going to get their food basket, but they're driving a car to get that food. But I mean, that's a luxury, man. Being able to get in your car and going out and getting your food. These people don't have it. That's not what we're talking. We're talking about unpaid roads. We're talking about open sewage. We're talking about no running water, no electricity. Wood fire stoves, I mean, fires all the time. We're talking about drugs and alcohol and all kinds of sexual predation that all of these people, especially the children, are subject to, unless someone steps up and say, well, wait a minute, I want to make a difference. So that's what this is all about. It's offering people a chance at something greater, at something more, offering people the opportunity to come through us. And I'm gonna have to post Fernando's video because he's one of our rock stars. He's been promoted. I mean, he went through the whole thing, and he ended up with a job with DHL, with an international company. He travels all over Latin America with the company, and he's just done really well. But the story behind Fernando is he started out with 9 or 10 of his friends, and he is the only one who made it all the way through. The other ones are dead. Dead meaning just dead. Some got shot, stabbed, whatever, dead. And so we were able to help Fernando. That's 1 out of 9. Well, you're saying that's not good odds. We're not looking at the ones that we lost. Those we couldn't help. We're looking at the ones we were able to help and we were able to save and place in a job where they could then go back to the community and give back, because we do build leaders. I mean, we help form leaders for the community. We got another one who just got her master's degree and was hired by the university. I mean, all of these success stories that would not have happened had it not been for El Niño y la Bola, had it not been for the organization, the charity, to help all these people in everything that they needed. So that's what we do. So every year, I set up these webinars. There's going to be 6 of them this year. As I said, Bradley's helping us. So is Jordan. Brian Catto is stepping up. Dixon Jones is stepping up. Just got a lot of great people giving away knowledge, and all they're asking for is donate. You donate, and then you send proof of donation. I place the email on the page. It's there. You contact that email, and then my personal assistant will contact you with the link to register for the webinar. You just have to show proof that you donated. The only way that you get access to these webinars is if you donate. I mean, that's the condition, which to me isn't much to ask. I'm not telling you you have to give me $1,000 donation. I'm not setting a limit on the donation. You do what you can with what you have. You can give $1, give $1. If you can give $1,000, give $1,000. Whatever your heart tells you to do, and whatever your wallet allows. That's what we want. And in exchange for that, we're going to give you the keys to the kingdom, how you trigger the algorithms, how we do worryless SEO, entity-based worryless SEO, where we haven't given a shit about an update in years. We haven't cared. Doesn't matter. Google can do what it wants. Since we're giving Google everything that it's looking for, then, I mean, why worry about an update? We don't worry. We don't care. That's what we're focused on, and that's what this is all about. Just my way, and now other people, of course, who are volunteering their time, their way and my way of giving back to the SEO community, because we don't want you guys cheated. And also a way to give back to people who are truly in need. So that's what this is all about.
Awesome. For those of you watching live, the information's on the page. I think Marco just put that on there, did it earlier. If you're not watching live and you need more information, you're not sure where to go, just send an email to support@semanticmastery.com and we'll get you sorted out. So with that said, you guys, I think that's about it. But if there's anything else, now's the time. If not, let's get into the questions.
Yeah, I'll be joining the first, or kind of co-presenting or guest presenting or whatever with Marco on Rob on Monday, next Monday. It's next Monday, right, Rob?
The 25th. Yeah. 25th, 5 p.m. Eastern.
We're going to be talking about using Google Ads for relevant traffic. So it's going to be pretty cool. Hope to see you guys there. All right, I'm going to grab the screen. We don't have too many questions, but hopefully that will fill up as we go. Okay, you guys are seeing my screen, correct?
Good to go.
All right. So we're going to start with this one. Says, hey guys, I have a question related to ranking of the individual post or page. When I order link building, I generally submit all my syndication networks ID page and Power Shield, SEO Shield properties, etc. But how to target a single post that I want to pull onto page 1? How do I hit a single post which can outrank all of my competitors? Please suggest. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to give you a really simple rundown, a quick rundown. Take notes. It's actually quite easy. There's several things you could do. First of all, if the post has been submitted or syndicated out to your syndication network, so you published it and it's syndicated out to your branded syndication network, go to all of your syndication network properties and extract or copy that file, the post URL of that particular post, right? So the version of that post that's been published on Blogger, Tumblr, WordPress, you know, all of the places that it's been republished to, grab the URL from those profiles, right? Those Web 2.0 profile properties where that post is published, right? Put that into a notepad file or text file that will be part of your target URL file. Several other things that you can do. So remember, grab the URLs from all the platforms that give you a separate post URL for that. Okay. Add that to your target URL list for a link building gig. You can also, if it's part of a GMB, like if a Google My Business, so if it's part of a local project that has a Google My Business attached to it, you can also publish a GMB post that links to that blog post that you want to promote. And then you can take the GMB post URL, preferably the one that's on the GMB website, not just the post share URL. But like if you go to the GMB website, you'll see that the posts are part of the website as almost like an inner page of the GMB website. Take that URL, put that in your target URL file, publish a press release that has got one link in the press release pointing to the post or page that you want to promote on your site. So the press release is going to have one link in it only, and that's to the post that you're trying to promote. That in itself is going to help that post. But then now you've got the press release URLs from the press release report, where it shows where all of the press where the press release was picked up and republished. Now you've got that entire list of press release URLs that you can now add as part of your target URL list. If you've got an SEO Power Shield, which you say you have, you could also create an inner page on your G site, right? And embed the blog post or the page, whatever is it. I think you said it's a blog post, but whatever it is that you're trying to promote, that one post that you're trying to promote, you can embed that into your G site page. And then you can add that G site URL to your link building target URL list. Likewise, you can also take all of the post URLs that I just talked about from your Web 2.0 properties and embed those into that same G site page. Does that make sense? So your G site page could have all of the same article, basically, the same page or post, embedded multiple times, but from different platforms. That makes sense? And you could also take like I would just use the Press Advantage press release URL, not like all of them. I would just take the Press Advantage press release URL for that specific press release and embed that into the G site page. Does that make sense? By the way, you can also take the GMB post URL from the GMB website and embed that. So now you've got all these specific properties that are, just a republishing of the original post that you're trying to promote, but it's on all of these other platforms, and you can embed all of those into the G site page. Every one of those separate URLs become part of your target URL file. The G site page becomes part of your target URL file. Like I said, press release URLs, all of that stuff. So it's very, very powerful. And then lastly, you can take, again, that your top, like what I would suggest doing is, for example, your WordPress, Blogger, and Tumblr, the Press Advantage press release, the GMB post URL. There's 5 right there. Go get a MGYB embed gig. Just use the general embeds, because there's a few different options. Just go to general embeds, and now you've got 5 embeds that you could create from those WordPress, Blogger, Tumblr, syndication network properties, right? So you just take the URL from the post that was republished, turn it into an embed code, an iframe. Now you've got 3 there, then the GMB post URL and the Press Advantage press release. So you got 5 more and there's 5 embed codes there, which you can submit up to 5 embed codes for any one embed gig order. And I would do that too. So you've got a target URL list for link building. Now you've also got your embed iframes that you can use for an embed gig, that then you can build links to the embed gig properties, right? So right there is a perfect way to get really, really good results when you have a specific post. So guys, this applies to any of you. If you've got a particular keyword that you're trying to push, and you've, had a well-written post or page on the site, you can do the same thing that I'm talking about, right? And get some really good push out of it that way. Anybody want to comment on that?
Yeah, because he's talking about a single post, right? That he wants to pull into page one. What's the competition? I mean, I'll go back to the example we always give with the guy wanting to go after what it was, a personal injury or DUI attorney, Toronto, major metropolitan city with what, over 1 million people. I don't know how many are in the Toronto metropolitan area, but it's huge. You're not going to get a post for DUI attorney Toronto anywhere near page one, just a single post. If you go through our stacking method, the PR stacking method, the GMB stacking method, and you point everything at the page that you're trying to, it's how you set up that whole stack, which is what you were just discussing. You were just discussing all of the different stacks that lead to that one post. But that post may not be enough to go after that, well, let's call it an entity, right? To go after that keyword that you're trying to target. It could be that it takes a long form page with additional content, with supporting posts, with stacking the posts the way that we teach it a little bit differently now, but that's only taught in the heavy hitter club. I'm not going to get into that here. You would, and then again, we mirror. You do the G site, you do your post, you do your press releases, and then you let Dedia at it, because Dedia is an animal. He just hammered until it submits. But the only way that this is going to go through effectively is if you've set everything up effectively. Bradley talked about extensions on your G site. Bradley talked about all the different URLs. Bradley talked about embeds. So all of these methods are valid, but you have to pump up your page rank and your ranking score so that it becomes worthwhile for Google to rank this on page one above all others that it could rank on page one. So think of it. So if you're talking about millions of pages that are competing for that top 10 spot on page one, then that's the type of work that you have to do. So you have to think about the work that's involved for what you're trying to do, and whether hammering that post is going to be enough, whether you've done enough work, whether you've supported it enough, whether there's enough relevance, right? Activity, relevance, trust, and authority for Google to take that post into account and rank it.
That's true. And some of the other things to add to that, to even add a little bit more power, is, if it's I'm just assuming it's a post, but it could be a page. Either way, if it's a page, you could actually set up a category for it on, if it's a WordPress site that is published on, and then you could publish supporting articles under that category, right? And so those would syndicate out to your network as well. And then again, you go and what I'm saying is, from your blogging underneath that category, and if it's not a page and you don't want to make it a category as well, you could also do, like, so for example, if it's a post that you're trying to promote over a page, you could do it with tags. You could take your primary keyword and add that as a tag to that page. And then then you could publish additional posts that share that same tag, but the internal link from those additional supporting posts is only one internal link, and that's to link back up to the page or post that you're trying to promote, that you're trying to rank. And so for each supporting article that you publish, now you've got a specific set of supporting articles that are also syndicating out to your network that give you a whole nother list of target URLs for each one of those supporting posts. So you can power up each one of those supporting posts, which will ultimately, because of the one link and all of those posts that go up to the pages you're trying to promote, it's all going to flow through that up to that one page that you're trying to promote. And that's how you can add that additional topical relevancy. You can add more depth to that topic, if that makes sense. Because again, as Marco said, sometimes one page or post isn't enough. And there's a ton of additional ninja things that I know I can't share here because Marco would be pissed. But you could do all kinds of stuff with anchor links or jump links, all kinds of crazy stuff that you can do to really power up that one page or post that you're trying to rank. And again, it comes back to building it all out, and then adding the silo structure that we do. And it doesn't have to be like a traditional silo on the website, right? You could make like a keyword specific silo just through the way that you do the internal linking, and then extract all those URLs and all of from the web, all your tier 1 entity assets where it's been republished. Extract all those URLs and create link building target URL lists from that. And then again, also embed gigs. And you can really power something up that way. Works great. Okay, we're going to move on. The next question is from Frankie. He says, what are your thoughts about or thoughts on AI generated content with stuff like GPT-3 and phrase.io? Do you think these would be good for money sites, or could they become toxic from an SEO angle? Hey, listen, this is my opinion, but if you can read, I mean, if it spits out really, good readable content, then I don't know how that could be toxic from an SEO standpoint. In fact, I've actually seen some demonstrations of some of these, most of the time they need editing, right? They'll spit out content that still has to be worked a bit, right? Massaged a bit. But I've seen some, shorter snippets that just read incredibly well, that read better than a lot of the times which you'll get from writers. So I think there's a real opportunity with those. I haven't really found any that have been that still didn't need quite a bit of massaging once the output, the final document was outputted. But I've seen where it's getting better. So anybody want to comment on that?
Oh, you betcha. Go for it though, Marco.
No, it's entity based wordless SEO, right? It's entities, being able to pick out the entities. People have the wrong concept of AI and readable, right? Human readable and machine readable, what the machine wants versus what a human would want. Because you could create 2 different sets of content, and one worked perfectly well for the bot, and you get ranked, and it's not going to convert anything. I mean, we saw the Kyle Roof example. Well, he ranked Lorem Ipsum content, and he just had the right keywords in the right place, and that works perfectly well for the bot. But I can bet you that nobody is ever going to click on anything that they don't understand. Well, they could. It depends. It depends how well you do with your CPA. But that person has to have a reason to click. That person has to have a reason to give you money, to give you something in exchange for what you're giving them. If you're giving them nothing, you get nothing. It's a rule in our game. You give someone nothing, and they're not going to give you anything. You give someone value, and they're going to continue giving you whatever it is that you're expecting to get. Having said that, I've used both, and they both work really well, especially out of tier 2, tier 3. I mean, just go to town with it. Now I know Adam has his take on it because he's playing in a website that won't let me in. It won't let me in. I don't know why. I keep using different emails, different things, different IPs. I'm going VPNs. I'm going to different servers. I'm going all over the world trying to log into this place. They won't let me in.
Yeah, this stuff is my bread. I love this stuff. But to stick to the question, what are your thoughts on AI generated content and stuff like GPT-3 and Phrase? Do you think these could be good? Yeah, so let's start with the long view. If I, Adam Moody, write an article, I'm big into productivity. If I write an article on the top 3 tips for productivity, and you don't know that I wrote that, and then we go and get GPT-3 and we give it a prompt of write top 3, and we blindly give you those, and they both are helpful, does it matter who wrote it? It doesn't. And so I definitely take the human user approach to this, like Marco was talking about. I'm not going to tell you whether or not it's toxic because I don't see any way that it could be. But I'm not going to tell you that technically because I don't know. But I look at this as in the end run, it doesn't matter who wrote it so long as the information is usable and there's value in it.
I agree.
Let me tell you how we boil it down. If you get art into that content, activity, relevance, trust, and authority, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether a human wrote it. It doesn't matter if it's someone else's content. It doesn't matter if it's spun content. It doesn't matter if it's hard to read. It doesn't matter if the page takes an hour to load. If you get that art in there, everything is off the table because Google is going to love your content because the people who are visiting your content are telling Google that they love your content. Your content gets shared. Your content gets liked. Your content gets quoted. all of these things happen. Activity, relevance, trust, and authority. People are giving you their email, they're calling you, whatever it is that you've set for them as a goal. We talk about this all the time, how important it is to get that final conversion, so you get that final signal to Google, and that's money, guys. That's what you look at, is money in your pocket, but it's also going to mean more Google love, because they're going to send more people to see how well they like it. And then it just builds on itself. It becomes a snowball effect. I see it in Google My Business when we're doing posts. I see it time and again. It starts slowly. Google starts giving you these displays, and then you start getting more views, and then you start getting phone calls. And then all of this relevance that you're getting in there, all of this activity, all of this trust and authority, it gets a snowball effect to where you see that hockey stick. You get that hockey stick, and you get it for your website visits, for your phone calls, for your requests for directions, for everything that you could possibly want. But the caveat here is that whatever content you're using, the only way that it can be toxic is if nobody interacts with it. If you can't get anyone to interact with it, the toxicity is not because of the content. It's because there's no interaction, there's no art.
Yeah, Bradley, can you let me share my screen real quick?
Yeah, I got something I was going to share too, but go ahead. How do I do that?
I think you just have to stop sharing.
Okay, I'll try that and see if that works. Can you share now?
There we go. All right. So I wanted to share this because I want to talk to the second part real quick and talk a little bit on the actual kind of actionable side of this. I talked about this in the mastermind. I'm not going to share all the slides, but in November, I went over some of the stuff and kind of the tools that are being used. So the second part of the question for Frankie was, he's interested as many spinners and autoblogs are popping up around these types. Would love your thoughts on these technologies and autoblogging in general. So I think Bradley and Marco both touched on this, that, yeah, it's out there. You could use it. What I will tell you right now is that I have seen nothing that I would want to have on any site that I have my name attached to, that I would not, or rather that I would just put up there without me seeing or having a professional editor touch first. And that's just how I see it, where we're at. I'm not saying it can't be used elsewhere. I'm not saying somebody else wouldn't be okay with it. I wouldn't do that if my name was attached to it or it was associated with me. What I have seen so far is a lot of these tools are awesome at coming up with short snippets. So in the e-commerce world, coming up with product descriptions, I've had a bot write better product descriptions than what I could come up with for my own products. It's insane. So like short snippets, stuff like that, ideas, Phrase particularly, and then some other tools like Market Muse, coming up with content briefs, right? And that's less AI and more machine learning and saying, hey, we can go and scrape all the data real quick for a search term. We can identify, here's what the keyword patterns look like. Here's common headers. Here's common topics. Here's the questions that pop up. And that can give you a brief to go get that written. Or to write it yourself and save you a lot of times. And so you could incorporate AI into that. I know Market Muse, for example, you can get the content brief and then have their AI write it. But I think you could, at this point, still probably get better content just taking a content brief and giving it to someone like at Word Agents or one of these other kind of writing services, and then maybe doing some work on it on the back end. But that's kind of roughly where we're at, or is how I see it right now. Is that going to change in the future? Hell yes. And if you do copywriting, I personally wouldn't be aiming myself to be like, I'm going the quantity route. I would be looking at quality, long-term, how you can add value onto the writing, because, I wouldn't want to be the person that's writing e-commerce descriptions right now, because your job's going to disappear in about a year or two. I want to be the person who's working with clients and strategizing with them and helping them with their copy, things like that. And I just got to tout this real quick. If you're into AI, if you're into this sort of stuff, go check out this book. It's a blast to read. It's really crazy. It's written by a physicist who dives into this stuff. It's called Life 3.0. Tons of fun, and just talks about this stuff more in depth. But where the rubber meets the road, I don't consider it good enough, these tools yet, to be just cranking out the copy for my sites. But, the devil's in the details. Test them out, see for yourself, and kind of go from there.
Hey, that book is a classic. It was written in 2017
Yeah.
on AI. It's got to be on the classic list now.
Yeah, it's great. Well, it's good. It's I will definitely say more on the theory side, and just saying like, hey, let's look forward. What kind of stuff is going to happen? They've got a great section. I forget if it was a title, but it's like, what should, I tell my kids to be doing as far as their jobs? And it's like, well, you probably don't want to teach them how to do repetitive tasks. You want to teach them how to interact with people. So,
yeah, one more thing. I pulled this up when I saw the question earlier. You got to check out Google's natural language API demo. It's their cloud natural language, and it's really cool. You can just copy text, and just play around with this, and you can paste text into there and click analyze, and it'll come back, it'll identify entities, and it will show you the sentiment of the text. So it'll show you whether it's positive sentiment, net neutral, or negative, that kind of stuff. You can get a lot of really good ideas on how to optimize content just from using their natural language API demo. In fact, I just, I'd seen this before, but I just saw a great video from Ed Leek, who is a Google Ads guy. I think he's in the UK, but he just published I'm on his email list, and I got an email from him, I think yesterday or a couple days ago. And he was talking about a great way to increase your ad relevancy, your ad relevance score inside of Google Ads for search ads. And he demonstrated using this. He said, just go do your top level keyword search or whatever keywords that you're running ads for. Go do some keyword searches, and then just copy the text from the ads and go use this tool to paste them in. And you can start to identify common entities that are referenced, as well as the sentiment, like the phrases or the terms and phrases that are used that for positive sentiment and things like that. And you can build kind of like a nice little cheat sheet or a little database of what Google determines are relevant to those keywords, so that you can include those in your Google ad copy, so that you can increase your ad relevance score. So I thought that was a really, really cool hack that I had never thought. I've always struggled with ad relevancy, and the only way that because sometimes you just get low, below average scores on ad relevancy for some reason or another. And the only way I've ever been able to remedy that is through testing, like through trial and error. And sometimes it's a long process. And he showed a very quick way to use the natural language API demo. And I think this could apply to what it is that you're asking about for content and such. Marco, do you have any comments on this? I know you.
Yeah, we show that. We show that in the heavy hitter on how, one of our webinars is how you take that and use that in combination with all the other different tools of all of the other artificial intelligence to focus on entities. But even something like Inlinks, which is using the Google natural language processor, will go out and pull in even more entities. It's amazing how it's just competing. I'm not going to say competing. It's just a different way to approach the entity and how they create the relationships. We have to remember Bert trained on Wikipedia, and so creating those relationships is essential, especially through schema. And how do you do that? Well, Inlinks is a fantastic tool. Guys, if you have the chance, donate and come listen to Dixon talk about entities during the webinar, and how content can be. It's unstructured data, of course. It's always going to stay unstructured data, but it can be kind of structured in a way so that you're focusing the entities and presenting the entities, like Jordan showed in Profile Live, how you can focus the entity in such a way that you present it to the bot, so that you get even more love than you possibly could if you didn't do it. Join Inlinks, and you get a call with Dixon. He'll talk to you personally, and he'll show you how to use his tool, how to use the software. And it's just a fantastic way to focus your content with entities. We have a writer who we trained on that, on not phrase, but Inlinks and Surfer, and just the different artificial intelligence tools, so that it's just hyper focused on the entities, man. Good stuff.
Pretty cool. All right, next question. I know Marco has said in the past, stick with drive stacks, but I'm doing some testing to experiment with OneDrive. Do you know how to make files indexable? I set the folder to public and can access the URL in non-signed in browsers, and also submitted to Indexer. However, I can't seem to index the files in SERPs. I don't know that they will index. I've not tested with that for indexing purposes. Do you know if they'll index, Marco?
No, that's why I tell people stick to drive stacks, because I don't know anything about OneDrive. Haven't been in it. We might get. I know Brian does a lot with cloud documents, not just
Cato?
OneDrive, but yeah, Brian Cato. So he might be a good person to answer that. I can't answer because I just don't. I don't go anywhere that I don't need to because I get maximum effect, maximum power out of Google.
Yeah, I started to experiment with that several months ago, just a little bit, and then I got sidetracked and I never picked it back up. So I can't offer any advice on that either. All right, next one. BB, what's up, BB? He says, hi guys, how does Google treat pages that are not related topically to the site? Say you have a marketing site and you added a page or a post about dogs because it has big search volume. You know, I mean, look, I'm not sure why you would do that, just because, I mean, I know this is probably just an example that you threw out there, BB. I'm not sure why you would add an article about, you know, something that is completely unrelated just because it has high search volume. Like, yeah. I'm not sure what the purpose of that would be. However, you can have on a site content that isn't 100% related about everything else on the site. You just got to categorize it properly, right? I mean, again, you wouldn't want to just, like, what I would say is, like, for example, just use standard WordPress taxonomy. Like, the default, there's always an uncategorized category in WordPress, right? When you set up a new WordPress site. I mean, that could essentially be what, you know, an uncategorized category could be where you place non-relevant content that's, you know, not topically relevant to everything else on the site. Doesn't mean you can't publish stuff on that site, but you want to keep it out of any sort of silo structure so that it's not muddying or, it's not diluting the theme, right? The keyword theme that you're trying to promote within a particular silo. Again, I don't really know what the purpose of that would be for, but I know that you can add stuff that isn't, you know, related, as long as it's not placed incorrectly on the site where it's going to affect, dilute the keyword theme of a particular silo, if that makes sense. Marco, what do you say?
Why would you want? Yeah, it has high search volume. So what are your hopes of ranking for that? You're going to have to develop that whole uncategorized, for lack of a better word, uncategorized category. Mm-hmm. Siloing, and where is all the power going to come from? And how does that even make sense? I mean, if there is some relationship, yeah, you could totally have that, but you build out a silo for that page. I don't want an orphan page being there just because it has high search volume. I mean, it makes absolutely no sense to focus on search volume because you don't care. That's not what you're focusing on. You're focusing on that person who's looking for whatever it is you're trying to sell on, or whatever goal you've set on that website. I mean, seriously, what is the point of having this page on your website? How does it relate to the rest of your website? If it's I want this high volume page on my website, it's not going to help you because you're not going to get shit from it. Yeah. Not likely.
Yeah, what's the purpose is really the question. BB's always got these abstract questions, these theoretical situations that we're all, you know, hypothetical situations that we're always addressing for you, BB. You must be, you must have dabbled in psychedelics at some point in your life. All right, moving on to question. Yeah. Question number 2 is, why embeds to the money site through the embed package is wrong? Does embeds and links work the same in Google's perspective? It's not that it's wrong. Personally, I don't like to embed specifically money pages, not through our MGYB embed gigs. The reason I don't like to do it is because you can see embeds in backlink profiles. And so personally, I don't like to do that. I prefer to embed other properties instead that have maybe my money sites embedded in those properties. Does that make sense? So for example, the new G sites, you can't do it, but like with the classic G sites, you could take your money site page or post and embed it into a G site page, and then take the G site page and run that through embed gigs. So it's the G site page that's getting linked to. If you look at for example, SEMrush, if you look at an iframe, it's considered a link in SEMrush, but it's an empty anchor link. It's interesting, but you can see, and it's always an iframe. It's from the iframe. And so personally, I don't like to do, and maybe Marco can shed some more onto this, whether that's right or wrong or whatever, but I personally don't like to run money site pages or posts through the embed campaigns because I don't want those showing are appearing in the backlink profile, even though for, you know, most of my clients, I'm the only one that even sees the backlink profile. I personally just don't like to do it. I prefer to do what we talked about at the beginning of this webinar, which is take the page or post that has been pushed out across the syndication network properties, take all those properties and use those as the part of the embed gig, if that makes sense. What do you say?
I say that everything is on the table. It gets results. So I have, and it works. But what we're doing is we're taking the inner pages and embedding those on the G site, and then sending the stack. That becomes an iframe stack, especially if you throw a video on that page. Now you got multiple iframes on that stack, and then you run that to an embed gig, which is a further stack, and then you hammer that with link building. It's not to say that there's anything wrong with the money site page or any of the inner pages. In fact, being iframe, you're not going to get any penalties. Nothing. You're going to get nothing but love. We tried it. We've done it, and it works perfectly fine. It's just that you focus more and you get much more power if you think about stacking your iframes and how you can amplify the power through the G site because of whatever Google is doing with G site. It's their property. We don't know, but we know it works damn well.
Yeah. Okay, next, he split it up this time. Okay, number 3 is, do you use brand citations for SEO, local citations and non-local citations like e-commerce website brand without brick and mortars, or do you moved from this strategy entirely to tiered link building with the shield? Well, I'm not sure I understand what you mean. I mean, again, everything I do for the, well, I've got a project I'm working on now that's a national project, but for all legitimate businesses, not spammed businesses, right, that are fake locations, I use citations for all legitimate businesses. For locations that are fake, I don't use citations. So, I mean, again, I don't think it's citations, in my opinion, is not really about the quantity at all anymore, and probably hasn't been for quite some time. It's more about the quality, and getting listed on niche or locally based directories. And when I say citations, I'm talking about more like structured citations, but unstructured citations is just mentions, right? Name, address, and phone number, or brand citations would be mentions of the brand, even mention of brand contact details, mention of the brand URL, even if it's not a hyperlink. Like all of those are considered citations, right? And my opinion is if it's on relevant sources, that's where it matters. So I'm not sure I understand the question. Can anybody else here interpret it?
No, I'm not sure.
E-commerce website brand without brick and mortar. Yeah, again, it's like, brand mentions are important for the entity, but I'm not sure. I'm still not sure I understand what the question is. So if you can clarify that, BB, and we have time, we'll get to it. Wayne, Social Buzz Me, he says, I have been in the mastermind for years and still don't have a t-shirt. Who do I have to exchange sexual favors with to get one? Who does Wayne have to blow to get a t-shirt is what he's saying.
Raise your hands, guys.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, moving on. Okay, Jim's up. Regarding AI written content, I've heavily fine-tuned 2 different GPT-2 modules, and I'm having great success with content created. I mostly use it on tier 2 and tier 3. It's fully legible and makes grammatical sense, only a couple of tweaks here and there. It's taken me months of training to get the content very factual within the context, as well as 50% unique.
I hate that word.
50% plus unique. The content gets indexed and is starting to pick up traffic, albeit slowly. He says, this took me about 30 seconds. Once I had the model loaded, I can have it generate 100 blog entries with 50% plus unique content, add them as a single entry in my CDN, and each site will get different posts. Oh, that's pretty cool. But it took you months to do that. So when you have a product that's finished, then you could sell it, Jim.
Yeah. You have to train the model, right? It takes training. It's not as if the AI is just going to go from nothing and create something. Not yet. We will get to that point where you just give it a subject and it'll just go to town on it. But it has to train. Once it's done, yeah, you can generate a whole bunch of stuff. But Jimmy, how about tell you a secret? I'll post the same 100 blog entries with 100% same content and get fantastic results. It depends on what tier you're in and what the purpose for that content is.
That's pretty cool though, Jim.
Yeah, no, it's this is fantastic with 50% unique.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I wish I had more time to play with stuff like that, because I might, but looks like we're out of questions, so I think we should wrap it up. What do you guys say?
Sounds good. I just wanted to give one more shout out. I feel like, man, half the time we're like, yeah, go check out this thing on AppSumo, but I actually picked up a couple codes. Markup Hero was pretty cool. So it's like $39 for a pack, and then if you get 2, you can have 10 users. But it's a web-based markup and annotation, so it can do like screenshots, markup images, as well as PDFs, and it integrates with like Slack and Google Drive, and it doesn't flatten the images, so you can always go back and re-edit them. Anyways, really cool tool for those of us who do any sort of annotation work. Sending screenshots to a team, kind of having everybody use the same thing. I thought it might be kind of a nice tool for people to check out.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned AppSumo, because I went on an AppSumo buying spree at Black Friday, and I bought so many fucking apps, it was ridiculous. And I've only implemented about 5 or 6 out of like a dozen that I purchased, and I realized that I just don't have the time to implement like the other ones. So I just initiated refunds on several of them that looked great, but I just don't have the damn time, and I need to focus.
Yeah, I kind of look at it as like, I don't know, what do we want to call it? Not the lazy man's, poor man's version of like angel investing or something. It's all, for me, it's like, it's a lifetime license. So if 1 out of 3 or 4 tools that I get, I end up using, and I get a lifetime license, and it turns into something that would have been monthly, that's a win in my book. So I try to keep it down, not go on buying sprees. After 1 or 2, I stop and like don't go back for a couple of weeks. But yeah, I've had some great finds. I mean, like Brace it was amazing that was in there. There's a bunch
of Swipe Pages is amazing, and I love that. So
yeah, so I like to keep an eye on it. But yeah, you got a shiny object block a couple times. So.
All right, well, thanks everybody for being here. We'll see you guys